Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my lecture. So today we are going to talk about in details about investment and savings function, and we already know that how investment function looks like. So investment function is not only about the planned investment is also depends on rate of interest which is actually variable, and therefore rate of interest is actually one of the most important factors for borrowers to decide how much money to borrow and how much amount to be invested in the firm. So from the firm's behavior, rate of interest and investment, these two are interrelated, and these two are inversely interrelated, that we already had shown. And then we also had shown that how total investment is a function of planned investment, which is denoted as I naught, and also the negative relationship that we have with the rate of interest. So going forward, we'll talk about the ICE equation, which actually will help us to understand how investment and savings curve that looks like. And ICE curve or ICE equation also can be regarded as the equation for the fiscal market or fiscal policy. So first, when we talk about from public policy's point of view, if government wants to take any kind of expansionary fiscal policy, either through spending more or reducing the tax, or reductionary fiscal policy where government spending will be less and rate of and also increasing the taxes. So when we see that also we have to understand how ICE equation changes and how ICE curve they are changed. So let us see, just recollect our ICE equation or equilibrium equation for output, like here, like y is output, and then I is the rate of interest, and C is the correlation coefficient or coefficient of between investment and rate of interest, like how rate of interest will impact on the investment behavior. Like small c here, small c is nothing, is basically changes in the total output due to 1 unit changes in the rate of interest, because rate of interest is the one main factor that will actually make investment changes. So just to unpack this particular equations, we already know, just to give you an outline, we already know that from where did we get this equation. We got it from this particular equation in the closed economy's aggregate demands function. We got it, and we know that C is small a plus by, and small b is marginal propensity to consume, and here we know that I naught minus small ci plus say government expenditure, and government expenditure is known. So from here we get ICE equation here, like equation 1. So now how ICE curve looks like. So one more point that I would like to again reiterate in context of ICE equations. We already know investment equations, which is I naught, which is equals to y naught and small ci, and we know conditions, equilibrium conditions, that we already know, where A is equals to will be equals to I, means whatever the amount of savings that household they do, that particular savings needs to be invested. So it is the equilibrium conditions, and we know S is nothing, is basically total output, and then minus C, like after consumption that gets saved, that amount, that surplus amount needs to be saved. And here C, we know that from the consumption function we know that C is positively related to output. So this is C is a function of income. As income increases, consumption will increase. But then for the savings also, as saving increases, that means income already has increased. So we can write as income increases, saving will also be increased. So just to recollect, when we plot this consumption and output in single frame, we know this is what the consumption function, where C equals to A plus by, and here y is total output. We are not even considering tax, and therefore we are not considering about disposable income. Likewise, if we plot y with S is savings. So if consumption increases, then saving will get reduced. But if overall income increases, and then at one point consumption also will get stagnant, but then saving will keep on increasing. That's how. And saving function is upward sloping just like consumption. So this one is saving function, which is a function of y. And then propensity to save is what coefficient, saving coefficient, that we know that how changes in total savings due to 1 unit changes in income, that is what we refer as small s, and we already know P is marginal propensity to consume, and then here is marginal propensity to save. As we know that y is equals to s plus c or c plus s, and then we can also see that y equals to consumption plus savings, and then if we make the changes, this equation with respect to total income, then it will become dc by dy plus ds by dy, and here it's like dy by dy is 1, and this is nothing, is marginal propensity to consume plus this is marginal propensity to save. So this is what we are talking about, like marginal propensity to consume and marginal propensity to save. So marginal propensity to consume and marginal propensity to save will be equal, sum of these two will be equals to 1. So this total propensity is actually can't exceed more than 1, because C plus S is equals to Y. Y is the total income. So consumption with consumption, summing with or adding up with consumption and savings cannot exceed more than total income. I think that is true even in case of individual and also for the from the national output point of view. So now moving forward, how graphically we can visualize that investment and savings curve. So investment savings I is already is very clear. This I is investment and S is saving. So combination of R like rate of interest and Y where goods market or fiscal markets is in equilibrium. So any disequilibrium will be eliminated by variations in the output. So this is precisely what we call IS curve. So if we look at just a simple way, if we can plot all the components separately, then we'll get how it is actually coming in the product market. So let us just do that exercise and then let's see how it actually goes. The we can take 4 panel. Say here panel A. Panel A shows the relationship between savings and income. As we know, as saving increases, then as income increases like this way, then saving will increase. So basically saving function is positively related, which is upward sloping. So let's talk about this is savings function, which is function of income. So now let's move to panel B. Here we can also imagine we can plot another functional relationship, or where we can plot savings and investment relationship, and we can also call this one equilibrium conditions. So equilibrium condition says that whatever amount that we save from the economy, that needs to be invested. So in the circular flow discussion, we already said that how households and farm, they are interrelated, and how household supplies factors of production, and then how farms they pay factors of payment, and that's how household and farms are interrelated. So in this particular context, we can also bring household and farm just to show how savings and investment, they are interrelated. So like just imagine here is the household and here is a farm. So we have plotted here. So we can keep bank here. We have to place bank here because savings and investment matters. So household have savings after the consumption. So savings will go to the bank. So it is not that people, general tendency should not be people is savings at home or hoard. General tendency as a rational economic agents, household or people from the households, they need to save money in the financial institutions, which is bank here, and then farm needs to borrow money. So that savings, bank will have the money, and bank will lend the money to the borrowers. So and here farms are borrowers. Farms will not have the money or require money for the investment for new capital machineries or anything, or for running the production in their plants. So farms will invest with the help of that borrowing, and then bank will actually lend the money. So that's how this savings and investment, they are equals to each other. So it says that the amount of savings needs to be invested. So here we can say this is function where savings is equals to investment, and this is what we get it the conceptually. So another one thing that here we also said, like household will support farms by giving labor capital through savings, through bank, and banks are intermediaries, and farms in return, they will actually pay the factors of payment, which is wage, rate of interest, or say rent for the land. So this is, but in this particular case, like we know that how savings and investment, they are interrelated. So now let's talk about panel C, and we already know that how investment and rate of interest, here we can present as I or R, here also like I or R. So we know that investment and rate of interest, they are negatively related. So this is investment function, which is I naught minus C I. So small c is the marginal propensity to or investment interest coefficient, how investment and rate of interest, they are interrelated. And then combining all three behavior, we can actually plot total goods market conditions or fiscal market conditions in the panel D. Now imagine that Y1 amount of income, national income, is having S1 amount of savings. So S1 amount of savings, with the help of S1 amount of savings, firm can invest up to OI amount of investment. So this I amount of investment that we are having it, like say OI amount of investment, at that level rate of interest was small I1. So at the rate of interest of OI naught, investment will take place of O capital I1. So with this, then we again get one plot, so which is here. So say we get small or say capital E1, where Y1 and here small I1. So I try to interrelate or interlink between all these four panels. Like here on the first panel, savings is measured on the vertical axis, and parallelly I am measuring savings in panel B, and then with the investment, and in panel C parallelly I am measuring capital I, which is investment, and this capital I is parallel to investment in panel B. And in D we are actually combining like I rate of interest. So this rate of interest is parallel to rate of interest measurement in panel C, and therefore this is parallel. And in panel D, income is coming from parallel to measurement of the income in panel A. So why is this happening? Because we are my intent is to show you what happens when we change. So what will have the impact of the equal amount of income and what kind of savings that we are getting it. With the equal amount of savings, how much investment, that equal amount of investment, with that particular of investment, like OI amount of investment, what should be the rate of interest. With the same rate of interest of OI small I1, what is the total amount of income, which is OY1 amount of income. So that is the aim here, to show that how investment and rate of interest, they are interrelated to each other. So now suppose income increases, like national income increases, and with the same clause we get higher savings, and then with these higher savings we also have higher investment like S2 and I2. With this investment will be more, then definitely bank in bank cost of borrowing the money will be less, means rate of interest has gone down, and therefore investment has increased with the same amount. And then if we plot this, so like say I naught, and then with the same level of output, which is Y2, and then we get this another point, what we call E2, capital E2. If we plot this, add this E1 and E2, then we get investment and savings curve. So this is very important. So of course you as a student of economics are supposed to know this from the macroeconomics, but then here I'm trying to discuss like how this IS curve is so important when we talk about policy. So here are a couple of policy decisions that one can actually see. So here we are not talking about monetary policy or money market situation. Here just assumption. So see panel C. Panel C is absolutely policy decision if monetary policy decision. For instance, if rate of interest reduces, then obviously by the bank, then obviously investor will be encouraged to invest more because cost of borrowing has gone down. And here for instance, if we kind of imagine where saving has increased because there is an increase in the total output which is coming from aggregate demand, and therefore we get the ICE curve like in the product market equations. This is what we are trying to kind of show you with the same in 4 panel with the same indicators and same amount of changes, then how it will get impacted and how ICE curve is actually getting formed. So now let us just see here. We'll discuss in details again when we introduce money market. So if government takes expansionary fiscal policy through more and more government expenditure, or say by reducing the taxes, then certainly the equation, ICE equation that we know from our previous slide, which states, like again I'm writing here just for you to remember, and we can see everything in the one slide for better understanding. So ICE equation is nothing, is basically capital Y is 1 minus B is like A plus I naught plus G minus small c I by 1 minus B. So it's like Y and small I, they are inversely related. So this is what we are planning to show you. So now if government expenditure increases, then obviously overall income will be increased, say saving curve will be increased, and it will change to the upward, and then we can see like ICE curve will move upward, will shift from ICE not to ICE 1. If government, like here, if government reducing its spending, then ICE curve will move downward like IS2. So this is how we actually change, or we can actually see how ICE curve is shifting from one to another. So this is what the policy level discussions, like even through taxation or through government expenditures, how ICE curve or product market they response, and then how it will be changed in the equilibrium conditions. So equation 1 is product market equilibrium conditions, like ICE curve equations. So with the changes in the government expenditures and taxes, ICE curve also shift accordingly. Through expansionary fiscal policy, ICE curve will shift rightward. If reductionary, with the reductionary fiscal policy, ICE curve will shift downward, and that's how all 4 panels that shows the functional relationship between all the broad indicators of the aggregate demand curve. So it is, we are actually getting ICE curve from aggregate demand curve. So aggregate demand curve, the broad component like consumption, savings, government expenditures and investment expenditures, we can plot all of them to get the equilibrium, product market equilibrium conditions through investment and savings curve. So I'll stop here, and for further explanations and for more examples, you can follow these 2 books. I have followed these 2 books for preparing this lecture. So I thank you very much for your attentions, and I'll see you in my next class.